Greetings, friends. This is Steve Dupuie for the Bible News Prophecy Program with Dr. Bob Thiel. Dr. Thiel, on June 13th, there was a document presented on the role of the Bishop of Rome. What can you tell us about that?
Well, this is something that's been coming down the pipe for quite a while. Basically, they've announced changes to the Pope's position, if you will, because that's what they usually call him, as far as their ecumenical plans. And the paper is actually regarding Bishop of Rome primacy and something called synodality. And basically what they've said is we want people, particularly the Eastern Orthodox patriarchs, to consider the Bishop of Rome on their level and don't have to think he's quite as high up as they want to think that he is. And this has also been pushed by Cardinal Koch. He's the prefect for promoting Christian unity. And this is something that he's been working on for some time. Now, I've been watching him for a long time because I think he's a key figure in trying to get other groups to accept ecumenical unity with the Church of Rome. Now, Francis himself readopted the title Patriarch of the West, which is a title that Pope Benedict XVI dropped. And since the Eastern Orthodox leaders call themselves patriarchs, again, he's trying to make it sound like, we're like all kind of together. But what I think is happening is a bait and switch. While there are those at the Vatican who sincerely want the Pope to be more equal to other leaders, the Bible points to the fact that the last pontiff is going to assume more authority than even the previous ones.
Tell us a little bit more about your thoughts about bait and switch.
Well, when I first heard this, what came to mind to me was this is another reason to get ready for what they call the 1700th anniversary of the Council of Nicea, which is supposed to take place, by the way, the 20th of May, 2025. And last month, the Eastern Orthodox Church confirmed that Pope Francis is going to be there. And interestingly, the Eastern Orthodox and the Roman Catholics have talked about the fact that something may happen at a council. For example, one of the venerable ones that the Roman Catholics have from the early 1800s said the Pope will convoke a council. A new constitution of the church will be proclaimed in it. Now, this new document on the Pope's role basically was a result of a council and a synod. And this is one that he at least called for, the Pope called for or approved. But it seems like more changes are going to come, perhaps at the anniversary of the Council of Nicea.
When was the first Council of Nicea?
Well, that happened in 325 AD. It was called by the pagan Emperor Constantine. And even though he wasn't even a baptized anything, he declared himself a lay bishop. And the Eastern Orthodox, by the way, consider themselves the church of the seven councils, that one being the first one, and the last one being what's called the Seventh Council of Nicaea in 787. And so right now, some are looking forward to this council, but they are going to have some kind of important meeting in 2025. Whether or not it's going to be a council that the Eastern Orthodox have warned about or that the Roman Catholics have warned about is something we'll have to see.
Will this particular synod also involve Protestant churches?
Oh yeah, the World Council of Churches is making a big deal about the 1700th anniversary of Council of Nicea. They actually put something together called From Nicea, Walking Together to Unity, the beginning of a new beginning. And so there'll be all kinds of events. There'll all be something that's going to happen in Alexandria, Egypt in October 2025. So yes, a lot's going on related to this.
Since all Christians were supposedly represented at the Synod of 325 AD, will all Christians be represented in 2025?
No, and even though it's commonly reported, the World Council of Churches and Lutherans said all Christians were at 325. That was simply not the case. According to a Roman Catholic scholar and priest, the late Bellarmino Bagatti, no Judeo-Christian bishops participated in the Council of Nicaea. Says either they were not invited or they declined to attend. So we know every church was not represented. In our particular versions, we were not as well. Now, I was talking about Roman Catholic prophecies regarding some of these things. Somebody they have called the Venerable Bartholomew Polsheiser from the 17th century in Germany said there's going to be an ecumenical council, be the greatest of all council, by the grace of God and the power of the great monarch and the authority of holy pontiff, and by the union of the most devout princess, atheism and every heresy will be banished from the earth. The council will define the true sense of Holy Scriptures and will be believed and accepted by everyone. But we, the continuing Church of God, don't believe that's going to be the case. Now, the Eastern Orthodox had somebody they called Saint Nelios the Myrgusher. He died in the 1500s. He said, during that time, the 8th and last ecumenical synod will take place, which will satisfy the contention of the heretics. Now, by heretics, clearly this council is going to have to compromise and change the religion. And by the way, they're still going to call the religion Catholic.
If all the heretics will be satisfied, will this usher in an era of peace?
Many believe so. There's a Greek Orthodox scholar who I've communicated with, Helen Tizimo Otto, and she says that they're going to convene this 8th Ecumenical Council. It's going to reunify all Christians. Then the emperor is going to spend 3 wars raging against non-Christian nations, and then it's going to end up with, later, a schism of the Roman Catholic Church in the end times and the rise of an antipope. Now, how will such unity happen? Well, partially, we can read this in 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, starting in verse 9. The Bible teaches that the Antichrist is going to support the beast, and he's called the lawless one. We read, the coming of the lawless one will be in accordance with the working of Satan, with all power, signs, and lying wonders, and all unrighteous deception, because they didn't receive the love of the truth that they might be saved. And because of this, God's going to send them a strong delusion that they should believe the lie, that all may be condemned who did not believe the truth, but had pleasure in unrighteousness. Now, one of the signs and lying wonders we may see, by the way, is something claimed to be an apparition of Mary. An Eastern Orthodox writer, Peter Jackson, last century said, to which Mary are Muslims and Protestants being drawn together? Seems more of a goddess, a fourth hypostasis of the Trinity. They're looking toward one world church. And this idea is perhaps going to lead to the Antichrist. And that's from an Eastern Orthodox writer. Now, some Roman Catholic priests have wrote, for example, Priest O'Connor in the 20th century, the final false prophet will be a bishop of the church and will lead all religions into being one. Another priest, Paul Kramer, from the 21st century, said the errors of Orthodoxy and Protestantism will be accepted by that false church. It'll be an ecumenical church because the antipope will be recognized by the world, not by the faithful, but by the world. The antipope will be recognized as legitimate pope of the church and the legitimate head of the Vatican state. This church will be united with all false religions. And they're also going to unite with the Masons and cause persecution. So we see, even among Roman Catholic and Eastern Orthodox sources, there was concern about what's going to happen with this final unity.
So the Antichrist will actually start out as a pope?
It's very likely, and this is consistent with a lot of Roman Catholic writings, that there will be an antipope. This has been out throughout history, so it's not a new idea. Even their Pope, their Saint Gregory the Great said, I confidently say, whoever calls himself universal bishop or desires to be such, in his elation, foreruns Antichrist, because he sets himself above the rest. And we're going to see this happening. And so we've also got the fact that some others are concerned about this, not just that far back. Back in 1920, a priest by the name of Sylvester Berry said about Revelation 13, which is talking about the false prophet, the second half of it, says the 2 horns denote twofold authority, spiritual and temporal. This supposedly resembles a lamb. He's going to set himself probably up in Rome as a sort of antipope. And Antichrist will establish himself in Jerusalem with his lying wonders. And I just read about that prophecy. So many of these warnings they have are consistent with various scriptures. And although many in the Protestant world are going to watch the prophecy, as well as many in the Catholic world, they're going to be confused about who the Antichrist is. And various Greco-Roman Catholic sources have declared that the false prophet is likely the Antichrist. And that was also the position of their Saint Augustine.
So can you give us some examples and some verses that would tie this in with the Bible?
Yes, we see in Revelation chapter 17, that about a woman who rides a scarlet beast, dressed in purple, scarlet, and glittered with gold and jewels, which is the way various parts of the Greco-Roman Catholic clergy dress. It's called Babylon the Great, the mother of prostitutes and filthy practices. And in verse 9 it says, the woman's on 7 hills, and the 7 hills are 7 hills of Rome. Now, I just read from somebody recently that says, yeah, but Vatican City is not within one of the 7 hills. That's true, but the actual cathedra of the Church of Rome, which is at St. John's, I've been there, and that's within the 7 hills of Rome. And by the way, even Roman Catholic scholars say these prophecies are talking about Rome. And for example, verse 18 says, the woman you saw is a great city which has authority over all the rulers on earth. And the only city of 7 hills that has been Rome. And back in the 1800s, a Catholic priest named Rossi said that looks like it'll be an attempt to thrust upon St. Peter's throne an antipope that will create a schism. And I told you about Gregory the Great said the same thing. There's St. Hildegard from the 1100s said this cardinal proclaimed himself an antipope, and 2/3 of Christians are going to go with him. And so on we see it. And then Anna Katina Emmerich, who I think they recently made a saint, she said, I saw, again, a new and odd-looking church that they were trying to build. There was nothing holy about it. And then there's St. Francis of Assisi said there's going to be an anti-pope will rise up, as have others.
So can you tell us more about this odd-looking church that might cause this schism?
Well, in the 1700s, Jane Royer, who was called Sister Mary of the Nativity, said that false church is going to rise up. So when the time of the reign of Antichrist is near, a false religion will appear, which is opposed to the unity of God and his church. This will cause the greatest schism that's ever known. And Katrina Emmerich said she saw a Church of St. Peter undermined by a plan evolved by the secret sect. I see the secret sect relentlessly undermining the great church. And this is going to cause great distress. And there, Elizabeth Canora Mora in the 1800s said that there will be impious and heretical persons who desire to overthrow the church and destroy its very foundation. Now, what kind of group denies the unity of God? Well, none. But one that would come to mind would be one that denies the 381 AD definition of God that Emperor Theodosius pushed on the world.
So what group is it that comes to mind that denies the 381 definition of unity?
Well, groups like the Continuing Church of God, because we do not accept the Trinitarian formula that Emperor Theodosius cast upon the world, and we don't to this day. Now, they're pushing the type of anti-biblical unity. Such unity looks to be coming within a few years. It seems to be prophesied to affect the whole world, and not in a positive way. The year 2025 could very well represent an important step in that direction, and it will lead to the persecution of true saints, those of us in the Church of God.
Thank you, Dr. Thiel. For more interviews with Dr. Thiel, in addition to written as well as audio articles, visit our website at BibleNewsProphecy.net. This is Steve Dupuie for the Bible News Prophecy Program.